Warning: failure to read, understand, and follow all manufacturer's warnings and instructions constitutes a misuse of this product and could result in serious injury or death. Please note this video is not a replacement for the included tree stand instructions. Always be sure to carefully read, understand, and follow all written directions and warnings before you attempt to use this product or any tree stand. If you do not have the written instructions, contact Summit at 1-800-353-0634 for a complete copy. Watch this video completely. Replay any sections you don't fully understand. You'll be glad you did. If there is anything you do not fully understand and agree to follow, contact Summit at 1-800-353-0634. Warning: always notify someone of your hunting location in case of an emergency. Warning: when hunting from any tree stand, falls can occur any time after leaving the ground. Any fall can cause serious injury or death. Warning: do not use this tree stand in high wind conditions that could result in a tip-over. Warning: prior to each use, be sure to inspect all ladder sections to ensure the sections are not separated. Ensure the ground below the ladder sections is firm and level as well. The maximum weight limit for the Watchtower 12-foot, Watchtower 16-foot is 300 pounds. These limits include you plus all clothing and/or gear you plan on taking into the stand at any time. Do not exceed this limit. Warning: to set up a tripod, it is required to have 3 to 4 able adults. Failure to follow all written and video instructions could result in serious injury or death. Warning: prior to each use, ensure all leg sections are secured together and are not separated. There are no visible signs of corrosion present. There are no cracks in the tubing. There are no cracked or broken weld joints. All leg sections must be anchored to the ground. Discontinue use immediately if any of these items are not present. The reclining seat assembly is built first. All hardware on the seat assembly is 1/4 inch diameter. Start with a seat base and footrest bar as shown here. Insert 2 of the nylon bushings into the pre-punched holes on each side of the footrest bar. Slide the footrest bar into the brackets on the seat base. Use one 2-inch bolt per side, from the inside out as shown. Next, slide on one flat nylon washer over the bolt. Position the slide bracket over the bolt next. Use one lock nut to secure. Do not over-tighten, as this connection is designed to pivot. Repeat for the other slide bracket. Attach the seat back next. Insert 4 more nylon bushings into the bottom holes on the seat back. Slide the seat back into the brackets on the seat base as shown. Use one 1 3/4 inch bolt and lock nut per side to secure both sides. Slide one of the gun rest upright tubes onto the top of the footrest tube as shown. Slide the seat side tube over the gun rest upright and line up the holes. Use one 1 3/4 inch bolt and lock nut to secure. Run this bolt from the inside out. Repeat for the other side. Insert 2 more nylon bushings into the center holes on the seat back as shown. Pivot the seat back up and into the bracket on the seat side tube. While holding this in place, slide one of the steel slide bushings onto a 2-inch bolt. Insert this bolt through the notched end of the slide bracket over a flat nylon washer and then through the side tube. Use a lock nut to secure. Repeat for the other side. Attach the gun rest side tubes next. Use 2 2.5-inch bolts on each side tube and 2 flat nylon washers between the joints. Secure with lock nuts as shown. Repeat for the other side. Insert one 1.5-inch bolt through the middle of the side tube as shown. Run this bolt from the inside out. Slide on one flat nylon washer and then the right gun rest pivot as shown. Use a lock nut to secure. Repeat for the left side gun rest pivot. Slide the gun rest tube over both ends of the pivot tubes. Use the wire lock pins to secure. The gun rest can be adjusted by removing these pins and sliding the bar in or out. Go back and ensure all bolts from the previous steps are securely fastened, but not so tight that the seat assembly will not recline. Set this seat assembly aside for now. Next, assemble the platform and upper leg assembly. All hardware used here is 5/16 inch diameter unless mentioned otherwise. Start with the upper leg that has handholds, as shown. Please note that the upper leg sections each have an offset hole. This hole should be on the inside when assembled. Slide this into the leg base plate and use one 1 3/4 inch bolt with a lock nut to secure. Now slide the remaining 2 upper legs into the base plate and secure using 1 3/4 inch bolts and lock nuts. The platform sections attach next. Please attach with the expanded metal side facing up. Insert one 3 3/4 inch bolt through the middle holes in the platform section. Run the bolt through the upper leg as shown. Use another 3 3/4 inch bolt and run it through the opposite hole and upper leg. Move around to the opposite side and slide another platform section over the exposed bolt. Line this platform section up and use another 3 3/4 inch bolt on the opposite side as shown. Slide the last platform section over the 2 remaining exposed bolts as shown. Using 3 lock nuts, secure each bolt. Leave these hand tight for now. Attach the swivel next. It attaches with 1/4 inch diameter hardware. Start by setting 4 of the 1/4 inch nylon spacers on top of the base plate as shown. Carefully set the swivel down on these spacers. Use a 1-inch bolt and steel washer from the top down at each bolt location. Wrench tighten using 4 lock nuts. Place the entire seat assembly on top of the swivel next. You may find it easier to have a helper to complete this step. Attach the seat to the swivel using 1.5-inch bolts from the top down. Use a flat steel washer between the lock nut and swivel. Wrench tighten to secure. Start with the upper ladder section next. Slide this between the 2 platform sections on the front of the stand as shown. Use one 3 3/4 inch bolt and lock nut to secure. Insert platform standoffs next. These 5 standoffs go between the platform sections, 3 towards the center and 2 on the very edge. Use 3 3/4 inch bolts and lock nuts at each location. Go back and wrench tighten all bolts from the previous steps. Attach the arm pads next. Please note, do not climb on the tripod unless it is secured using the supplied spikes. Lay the tripod down if you cannot reach without climbing. Wrap the pads over the armrests as shown, and secure using the hook and loop strips. Attach the gun rest pad over the front of the gun rest bar the same way. Lay the foam seat pad in the frame next. Wrap the straps over the frame and secure the pad. This pad can be removed and stored when not in use. Lay the mesh seat back over the frame as shown. Bring the webbing loops together in the back and thread the supplied rope through. Thread the rope through the side webbing loops much as you would when lacing shoes. Alternate between each side as you work down. Pull the straps tight. Tie the remaining rope off to secure the seat. The tension on the rope can be changed to adjust seating comfort. Note, never make changes to the seat unless you are on the ground. Insert one of the coupler plates between the upper ladder section and the upper leg as shown. Use a 3 3/4 inch bolt to secure. Carefully lay the completed top section on its side, ladder rungs up as shown here. Position one of the coupler plates as shown. Slide the plate over the leg and line up with the holes. Note, coupler plate must line up with the round holes and not the oval holes. Position one of the brackets as shown. The bracket should be bolted to the coupler plate so that it runs horizontal when the tripod is sitting upright. Use one 2 3/4 inch bolt and lock nut to secure both the bracket and the coupler plate. Position the 72-inch ladder assembly as shown here. Slide the assembly into the coupler plate and secure with one 2 3/4 inch bolt and lock nut. Carefully rotate the tripod assembly to gain access to one of the legs. Slide another coupler plate on the leg and line up the round holes as shown in here. Position one bracket like this and secure using one 2 3/4 inch bolt and lock nut. Position one of the 72-inch leg assemblies. The oval pre-punched holes must be at the far end of the leg assembly. These holes are for the spikes included with the top section. Slide the leg assembly into the coupler plate and secure using one 2 3/4 inch bolt and lock nut. Rotate the tripod and repeat for the other leg assembly. Locate the pre-punched hole about halfway down the ladder assembly. Position one bracket over this hole from the inside and secure using one 2 3/4 inch bolt and lock nut as shown. As before, the bracket should run horizontal to the ground when the tripod is standing up. You must run this bolt from the inside out so that the head of the bolt is sitting on the bracket when tight. Repeat for the other two ladder assemblies as shown. Use one 2 3/4 inch bolt and lock nut to secure each bracket. The 6 cross braces will attach next. Start by positioning one cross brace like this. This brace will bolt to the outside of the two brackets as shown in these two images. Use one 1 1/2 inch bolt and lock nut at each bracket to secure the brace. Run these bolts from the inside out so that the nut is on the outside of the tube. Position one cross brace as shown in here. This brace will bolt to the inside of the two brackets, as shown, and it will sit on the inside of the brace installed in the step before. Use one 1 1/2 inch bolt and lock nut at each bracket to secure the brace. Run these bolts from the inside out so that the nut is on the outside of the bracket. Walk around to the opposite side of the tripod. Attach one more cross brace to the outside of the bracket and one more cross brace to the inside of the bracket. These two images show the correct placement of braces. Each cross brace should alternate, with one brace always bolting to the outside of the bracket and one brace always bolting to the inside. Use 1 1/2 inch bolts and lock nuts at each connection point. Rotate the tripod so that you can bolt up the last two cross braces. These braces attach the same way. Use 1 1/2 inch bolts and lock nuts at each connection point. The finished leg brace setup should look like this. Note that the green cross braces are on the outside and the blue cross braces are on the inside. Notice, this tripod can be used as a 16-foot or 12-foot model. This is done by not installing the bottom leg sections. Refer to all written instructions and warnings. The spikes supplied with the tripod top PN 81518 must be used. Assembly can be made easier by putting a sturdy 10-inch to 12-inch support under the platform while it is lying down. Position a coupler plate and a 72-inch leg assembly as shown here. The oval pre-punched holes must be on the far end of the 72-inch leg assembly. Line up a bracket with the upper bolt hole on the inside of the coupler plate. The bracket must attach as before, horizontal to the ground when the tripod is standing. Use two 2 3/4 inch bolts with lock nuts to secure the coupler plate, bracket, and 72-inch leg assembly. Repeat these 3 steps for the opposite leg. Locate the pre-punched hole a little further than halfway down the leg assembly. Position one bracket over this hole from the inside and secure using one 2 3/4 inch bolt and lock nut as shown. You must run this bolt from the inside out so that the head of the bolt is sitting on the bracket when tight. As before, the bracket should run horizontal to the ground when the tripod is standing up. Use a helper and carefully rotate the tripod assembly to gain access to the ladder side. Repeat these steps for the 72-inch ladder assembly. Locate the pre-punched hole a little further than halfway down the 72-inch ladder assembly. Position one bracket over this hole from the inside and secure using one 2 3/4-inch bolt and lock nut as shown here. You must run this bolt from the inside out so that the head of the bolt is sitting on the bracket when tight. As before, the bracket should run horizontal to the ground when the tripod is standing up. Next, assemble the 6 lower cross braces. First, position the lower cross brace A and the lower cross brace B as shown here. Please note the correct way the lower cross braces are assembled as shown in this image. Slide the lower cross brace B into the lower cross brace A and line up the bolt hole. The two ends that slide together must be ends with the pre-punched holes that are 2 inches from the end of the brace. Secure using one 1.5-inch bolt and lock nut as shown. Repeat for the other 5 braces. Caution! Brace attachment must be completed before attempting to stand the tripod up. The 6 lower cross braces will be attached next. These lower cross braces attach in the same manner as the upper cross braces. In the instruction diagrams, green braces attach to the outside of the brackets and blue braces attach to the inside. Start by positioning 2 lower cross braces as shown here. This brace will bolt to the outside of the 2 brackets, and the other brace will bolt to the inside of the bracket. Use 1.5-inch bolts and lock nuts at each bracket to secure the braces. Due to the size of the tripod base, you will have to rotate it in order to attach the next set of braces. Attach 2 more lower cross braces as shown. Use 1.5-inch bolts and lock nuts at each bracket to secure the braces. Rotate the tripod one more time and attach the last 2 lower cross braces. Use 1.5-inch bolts and lock nuts at each bracket to secure the braces. The finished lower cross brace setup should look like this. Note that the green lower cross braces are on the outside, and the blue lower cross braces are on the inside. Once you have finished assembling your Summit tripod stand, it is time to set the stand upright. Warning! Prior to each use, inspect all leg and ladder sections to ensure the sections are not separated or damaged. Ensure the ground below each of the leg sections is firm and level. First, find a suitable area to set your tripod up. This area should have ground that is firm and level, free of sloping ground or uneven surfaces. If you set your tripod on sloping or uneven surfaces, it will cause instability to your stand, causing your tripod to tilt or shift as you ascend and descend. Once you have found desirable ground, lay the assembled tripod on its side, with climbing rungs facing up. Your foot platform should rest on a box or table that is capable of holding the weight of the tripod. This step will prevent unnecessary stress on the leg sections and cross braces. Note: sturdy box is not included with tripod purchase. At the bottom of the wired column that has the climbing rungs, tie off a 15-foot heavy-duty rope or strap with a sewn looped end at the bottom. Note: rope or strap for setup is not included with the stand. Now you are ready to raise your tripod using 4 able adults. 1 adult should be positioned at the platform, 2 should be on each leg column, and the final helper should be holding the rope or strap tied to the 3rd column with the climbing rungs. Once you have everyone in place, pull on the rope or strap while the other helpers lift up on the legs and the platform. Use slow and precise movements as you slowly walk the tripod into position. Before you place your stakes in the ground, make sure the platform is level. Warning: do not let the unit slam into the ground. This will damage the tripod. Warning: All tripods must be anchored to the ground by means of ground stakes. It is advisable to purchase additional means of securing the tripod to the ground, such as ground anchors and straps if the area is subject to possible flooding or in an area of suspected high winds. After the tripod is upright and the platform is level, insert the ground stakes through the hole at the bottom of each column pole. The stake should be driven into the ground at an angle, as shown. Warning: do not climb the tripod without the ground stake secured into each leg section. Now that you have your tripod secured into the ground with stakes, you are ready to begin hunting. Remember as you climb to maintain 3 points of contact at all times. Also, never climb with anything on your back. Pull your weapon unloaded up using a rope once you have safely reached the platform height and are seated. When you are ready to remove your tripod stand, first remove the ground stakes and attach the rope or strap to the bottom wire column that has the climbing rungs. Once the rope or strap is attached, you are ready to lower the tripod to the ground. Position 2 people on the leg columns without the rope attached and 1 person on the leg column holding the rope. The final person should be near where the platform will be once it has been tilted to the ground. With the 1 person holding firmly to the rope, the other 2 adults lift on each ladder section and begin to tip the tripod back. Using slow and precise movements, carefully let the tilted tripod down, while slowly letting the rope out. When the tripod is close enough to the ground, the 4th person will help set the tripod on a box or table capable of holding the weight of the tripod. Warning: do not let the unit slam onto the ground. This will damage the tripod. Before each use, look for nicks, gouges, cuts, cracks, bends, corrosion, or similar damage that can be the result of improper use or accidental damage. For instance, this could occur if someone else used the tripod without knowledge of its proper use, or if the tripod were dropped, hit by a motor vehicle, or subject to corrosive conditions, etc. Summit tree stands have the highest structural integrity by design, material selection, and manufacturing techniques. But as the owner, only your continued maintenance and care will assure trouble-free performance. By following the next few maintenance and care tips, you can extend the life of your stand. Summit foam seats are removable, so we recommend it is stored in a dry place when not in use. It is also important to replace your seat every 2 years or sooner if you discover damage or wear. If touch-up is required on the factory paint, use a high-quality outdoor spray paint to cover any bare metal areas that might develop over time. When moving your Summit tree stand, packing it away, or placing it in your vehicle, make sure it is securely tied down and no other objects can slide onto it or hit it. Thank you for taking the time to read, watch, and understand the instructions for your Summit product. Knowing how to use your full-body fall arrest harness system and tree stand can be the difference between life and death. Remember, a successful hunt means taking the time to inspect your full-body fall arrest harness system and tree stand before each use, as well as properly wearing your full-body fall arrest harness system and properly using your tree stand. It is important to never hunt without telling someone your location. Enjoy using your Summit product.